Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's midday weather outlook for the southern region, brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. We begin first with an animation here from GOES 16. We're looking at satellite infrared temperatures, and we're looking at just the last day or so. When we watch this animation, there's three big features that I want you to hone in on. First, start from the west. There's a pretty large ridge that is sitting here over the Intermountain West here, and along its periphery, you can see a lot of scattered showers and thunderstorms. Some of those producing some very heavy local rainfall, especially down there in Arizona and New Mexico. And in some of those regions, given how late we've seen the arrival of the southwestern monsoon, this is some early, this is not some early, this is some late convection that some folks are happy to see. Secondly, you can clearly see that there's a large boundary stretched across this area, and that is the leading edge of some cooler and drier air that is making its way down from Canada, making its way south from Canada. But along that boundary, some very heavy rainfall, especially in the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. But across the southern region, just some widely scattered showers and thunderstorms that slowly progressed toward the south. And the final thing is, this is Tropical Depression number 3. Yesterday morning when I was recording our bigger video that goes out on early in the morning on Monday, I said, hey, we got to watch this region for some tropical convection. And I said it was probably going to skirt up just like this. We kind of watched it. Well, it even got up to the point where it was classified as a tropical depression, where they identified a low-level circulation, and the wind speeds there got above 22 miles an hour in that circulation. But I had mentioned there was a lot of wind shear along this front that was just going to knock the wind right out of this, and that's exactly what it did. And so Tropical Depression number 3 still exists, but chances of it getting stronger don't. Well, the good news is, after having, honestly, for much of the southern region, especially in the southeast, extremely hot weather compared to average since like February, we finally got a cool push of air that is coming through here. But that cool push of air is actually going to push Tropical Depression 3 off the coast. And so you can see over here on the left-hand side, this is just the next couple of days here from the National Hurricane Center, keeping this system weak due to some stronger wind shear and keeping it offshore. But as that front sags into this area, we're going to watch right here in the Gulf Coast where water temperatures are slowly recovering after Barry kind of sucked some of that energy out of the water. We're going to be watching that boundary sit there and linger, and as a consequence, getting those tropical thunderstorms that kind of blow up on the edge of that boundary. We're going to watch it for just the next week or so to see if we get any sort of very, what we call homegrown convection that might turn into a tropical thing to watch. Right now, I'm not too concerned about it. You'll see why in just a few seconds, but that's at least what the National Hurricane Center is looking at. I'll give you the longer range update on the tropics toward the end of this video. Just looking at the last 24 hours of total accumulated precipitation. Yes, you've probably seen in the news the very, very heavy rains that have moved through parts of the Mid-South, including Tennessee and Kentucky, but certainly getting up into the Northeast, bringing in some incredibly heavy rain. Even had a ground stop at some of the airports in and around New York. So if you were traveling yesterday by air, those ground stops may have impacted you. But as the boundary is sagged to the south here, we saw some stronger storms that moved through and quite a bit of heavier rain. And we're going to see where those storms are going today. And of course, you can see the heavy rain down here in parts of Arizona and New Mexico as well. Okay, so given that that's what we've got, where are we going in the near term? Certainly over the next 24 to 48 hours, higher atmospheric pressure will dominate here in the central part of the United States, and the main frontal boundary draped right in through this area will be our kind of hot spot for watching for showers and thunderstorms. But in general, it's the upper level flow pattern that I want to get to. But before I do, I still want you to notice that one of the things we're watching, let me animate that for you again. One of the bigger things we're watching is this elongated region of higher atmospheric pressure. That should normally be there. That's the subtropical high. We call it the Bermuda high. But I want you to see its extent. It's quite large and anomalously to the east right now, which is why the flow is largely doing something like this out in the Atlantic. Now, that's not too far away from normal, but it's important to notice that as we look for our tropical forecast, at least the longer range coming up in a few minutes. But as I said, I want to take you up in the atmosphere to show you the position of that ridge. And while we really see a lot of disorganization across the Pacific, and again, a lot of that is the result of the collapse in the global winds. This is about the collapse of El Nino. We still have a pretty highly amplified pattern in the short term across the United States. And we're going to have to watch where that ridge moves, this one right here with time, because it's going to be spreading back to the east and flattening out, and that'll be important for our temperature forecast. Okay, so let's talk temperatures first before I get into the details on the rainfall. Certainly, the warmth returning to the parts of Southern California, Arizona, and parts of New Mexico here in the next few days under that ridge. But much of the south and southeast, right in through here, are going to get a few days here while the trough digs in, the drier air arrives. That we get some drier, cooler days coming up. Slightly cooler than average. But as we get out here, looking at day 10, day 5 through 10 over here on the right, we can start to see above average temperatures sneaking back through a big section of the country. We'll talk about why this is remaining a little bit cool here, but overall the cool down is going to be relatively short-lived as we get out there beyond about day 5. Then when we stretch this out all the way out to the day 10 through day 15 time period, we're going right back over to, I think, what we've seen a lot this summer. And although you see near average temperatures for this part of the southern region, we will again be seeing temperatures that climb, into the low to mid 90s and at times approaching 100 degrees, especially as we get back into this area once we get into this first full week of the month of August. So we're really starting to see the broadening out of that ridge. You're going to see it in a few minutes. That's going to let some heat spread back across much of the United States. And honestly, that's a pretty big breakaway from what we've seen for much of 2019. We're starting to see the jet stream really retreat north and change our flow pattern in general. Now, let's talk precipitation. When we look at the next 15 days in terms of percent of normal, a couple things I want you to hone in on. First of all, a lot of what you see here, some of this is coming from Tropical Depression 3 as it slowly moves in this direction. Secondly, the frontal boundary that sits in this area, we're going to continue to see a lot of shower and thunderstorm activity on it. And that's why, again, we're watching this little area in through here. That's an enormous area. That's the Gulf of Mexico. That area in there for tropical thunderstorm activity that could impact the Gulf Coast here. But it'll be a little region right in through there, too, that we're going to be paying close attention to for having some more shower and thunderstorm activity than other parts of the south. So you look in here and you see, I see a lot of drier conditions. Well, you're going to see that once we get through some of the drier air the next couple of days, we're going to go back into our normal summer convective regime. So let's just take a look at what's going on starting off at 6 a.m. on Tuesday, high resolution, rapid refresh. You can see the boundary pushing there, finally getting off the coast, off the east coast here in the overnight hours on Tuesday into Wednesday morning. Watch it again. Scattered showers and thunderstorms all along that area. And for some of you folks that have missed out on some of the scattered showers and storms over the last few days and weeks even, this is going to be a good chance at getting you some rain. You can see pretty widespread coverage across this area as we just press play, getting us through mid-morning Tuesday all the way through middle of the day on Wednesday. So I'm liking what I'm seeing there just because it's a slow mover, no major severe weather threat out of this that I'm concerned about right now. But the only area that I am concerned about some more stronger storms and the flash flooding potential is going to be right down here in Arizona and New Mexico. As you can see, again, bigger storms there still sitting underneath the upper level ridge. So that's our near term. If we play this out with the European model, just taking out the next 10 days or so, what we're going to notice is, yes, we got a tropical system down here in this is just west of Mexico. It's going to fizzle pretty quickly here, but here's the main boundary. See it through there? And that is the boundary on which we're going to watch showers and storms in the next 24 hours. So you see there the boundary pushes south and higher atmospheric pressure builds in behind it. Now that boundary lingers right in this area. I got you out to Wednesday midday, while higher pressure dominates right here in the midsection of the country, clearing things out and cooling things down. So I got you now to Thursday morning, Friday morning, and getting you out to Saturday morning. And you notice during that time period, the high pressure center slid to the east, and that's what really kept much of the southern region, keeping those cooler temperatures around, but really keeping the convection away. Now let's start to progress into Saturday afternoon. You're going to notice that as the higher atmospheric pressure moves out over the open Atlantic and we return some Gulf flow, okay, so we're getting out of the Gulf of Mexico, you see this cone right in through here where we're getting moisture return from the Gulf coming right back up into the Delta. And as that happens, this will be the region we're going to watch for a lot of scattered showers and storms on Saturday night. Again, you're going to see it keep popping there. This is Sunday afternoon into Sunday evening. And then, if you've been paying attention as I was animating this, a low pressure system skirts from Saskatchewan all the way through parts of Ontario and Quebec. And it will be draping a front right in through this area. See that? This is now Monday morning. And on that front, watch, as it slides south, we're going to meet up with some Gulf moisture and again, bring in more precipitation into this area. So those forecasts where I showed you how the temperatures were slightly cooler than average in the delta, and it looked wetter than average in this area, is primarily because of those two features as I just take you out over the next week or so. As we keep playing beyond next Monday evening, getting into Tuesday morning, you can see that main frontal boundary still sitting in this area, and again, a lot more showers and thunderstorms here for the delta, parts of Arkansas, Mississippi, and Louisiana. And that does spread back into Tennessee and Kentucky early next week. So again, I got you out to Tuesday afternoon here. Getting into Tuesday evening and Wednesday morning, that front still lingering in this area. See that? And as a consequence, that's where we continue to see our shower and thunderstorm activity. So that's why you saw this little region in through here, again, showing up wet throughout much of the next 10 days. I think we'll stop it right here. Got you out to next, basically midnight next Wednesday, getting into Thursday morning. Beyond that, we're going to lose some of our bigger signal. So if we just take a look at what all of this means and wrap it up with a discussion here of our tropics, I want to show you the latest sea surface temperature anomalies. Certainly, if anything did come off of Africa, it will be interacting with some very warm water that is much warmer than average in the main development region. Yes, you're like, but I see cooler water down here in parts of the Caribbean and of the Gulf of Mexico. Those Gulf of Mexico temperatures have recovered after Barry, and they're still above the number we need to make a hurricane. So they need to get them above about 80 degrees, and certainly the water is quite warm in there. We are still seeing stronger easterly winds, which means and this is over the Pacific, by the way, stronger easterly winds here. This means our El Nino Bay State still collapsed, not a major factor here, which is slackened some of the wind shear in the main development region. So again, I'm talking about this area. There's a connection between what happens over here and over here. Now, the next piece of this, before I click animation on that, click to play the animation on the image on the left, I just want to tell you, come over here to the right, we are still seeing the slow eastward progression of the upper level support. So today, confined here kind of just to the west of Mexico and to the south of Mexico, and that's why we have a tropical system there. But you can see it moving over Central America and over this week and then sliding here into the Caribbean. Now, what does that blue mean? That's where the upper levels of the atmosphere are supportive of what we call divergence. That's air exhausting aloft. That makes it easier, just makes it easier for thunderstorms to erupt in the low levels. So what we're going to have to pay attention to right now is Africa. We're going to be watching for what we call easterly waves coming off of Africa. And we're just starting to see a bit more of a conducive environment to it, except dust. And that's what the animation is going to show you over there on the left. When you look at this animation, what you are seeing here is what we call the dust extinction aerosol optical thickness. Now, you're like, what the heck does that mean? It basically tells you how dusty the air is. And hurricanes don't want to breathe in dusty air. And so even though Africa appears to be producing better wave action on which tropical systems can form, it is very dusty air there and dry air in places that that these storms would have to ingest, and that could help suppress them in the near term. So I just want to keep you aware of that. All right. Finally, just to kind of give a tease of what I'm going to be talking about in tomorrow's long-range update, I just want to take you out through the second week of August. And we do see over that time period that some upper level troughing in this area is going to allow a lot of above average temperatures to spread throughout much of the country, taking the southeast back well above average again. Why do we see the cool weather in here? That's, again, some moisture pump coming out of the Gulf of Mexico, keeping it a lot of showers and thunderstorms across the delta. So we'll talk more about that and what the bigger picture is as we stretch out our longer range forecast tomorrow, deep into August and even into September. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the forecast video right there. We at Nutrien Ag Solutions, thank you for your attention. Hope you look forward to all of our forecast videos coming out this week at my.nutrienagsolutions.com. Have a great week, and we will talk to you again soon. Thank you.